Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and today it is just me and Janelle Wheeler. Our boy, Matthew Aguilar, is off on assignment. I forget what he's doing. He's doing Gen Con or something like that this week. He's out in the field. This is his Comic-Con this week. He's getting to get out and get back outside. And so we wish Matt the best. He's going to have a lot of great coverage up on the Comic Book Nation YouTube page. So today it's going to be Janelle and I holding down the show in the first half. We're going to talk about some geek news. We're going to review the new movie Trap from M. Night Shyamalan. Then in the second half, we thought we might do it as a separate bonus episode, but then we thought, this week we have time. So we're going to do it as part of this We are going to deep dive into the new Batman Caped Crusader series that is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video, and we'll be joined by a special guest from the Comic Book and Comic Book Nation podcast team to help us dissect what we got with Batman Caped Crusader. So stay tuned for all of that. But up at the top of the show here, we came on and we were just talking. Look, guys, I know this whole Rebel Moon director's cut thing is going down right now. It's happening. Zack Snyder and Netflix have put out these Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2 director's cuts, and they're all out here now. And we are going to get to that, but they're very long, and we already went through the Rebel Moon kind of episodes of this, so I am going to take a look at it. I started jumping into it. It is very different, but I don't know if that makes me feel better or just more angry that they put out the other ones. Like, why did we get a streaming thing than this? We're going to get into all of that, but maybe we'll save that for when Matt's back, because we were talking before the show. My energy level's low. I know our producers, Richard and Peter, are tired. Everybody's been going hard since Comic-Con and Comic-Con Fallout. Make sure you go back and listen to our Comic-Con recap episode, because I was in an even crazier place on Monday when I was fresh out of Comic-Con and my in-laws were visiting. Shout out to my nephews, the Andrioli brothers, Quinn, Braden, and Draxton. What's up, guys? I'm glad they got safely home. If you look around upstairs, I had a pack of boys, including my son, running around my house. So it's been a crazy week, man, but a good week and a lot of great content to talk about. But man, are we tired. So we're not getting into this Rebel Moon stuff. That's all to say quite yet. We're going to take some time, watch that, and maybe next week when Matt's back, we can all come at this and have a whole Snyder kind of rant about all of this. But we're working on it. Can't do everything. But one thing I did do is go out and see the new movie Trap, because they refused to screen it for critics. Shyamalan is done with us, and so he said, you want to come see it? Come see it. So I went out and saw Trap so that we could talk about it today. And, I always get kind of personal, I don't try to inject myself or my personal stories into this podcast too much, but I am a Philly guy. I come from an area that was very close to M. Night, where M. Night Shyamalan lived, and kind of a lot of his, if you watch his movies closely, they're almost always about Philadelphia or set in Philadelphia in various locations that I know. And this one was especially interesting to me because, it stars it blah blah blah. It stars his Salika Shyamalan is a major character in this, his daughter. And so, his other daughter directed a movie this summer, The Watchers. And so, it's very interesting because I grew up working in a video store in our neighborhood. It was like a theater of the living arts video store. So it had movies from all over. And I used to take my lunches in this pizza place, Bertucci's. I'm sure everybody knows there's a Bertucci's or somewhere. And in this little strip mall. And I used to see Shyamalan in there with his two daughters having lunch, working constantly, like multiple times while I was working at this video store. And, you didn't bother him because it was not cool to go up to him. He was a local and, he lived in the area and stuff. But yeah, it was so bugged out to see his daughter now, like in this movie and doing all that. So I was interested to see what they came up with. And here's what I'll say about Trap, because I don't want to spoil anything. If you don't know the premise is, it's not a secret that Josh Hartnett is playing a dad taking his daughter to a concert, only he finds out that the concert is a trap for a serial killer that's been on the loose, and he happens to be that serial killer. So it is all about how does he get out of this situation. And what I can say about Trap is it's less about a Shyamalan movie and more of a kind of thriller and performance-based
Wait,
thriller.
he's the serial killer?
Yes.
So, like, don't we want him to die?
That's kind of what the movie's about. It's kind of like it's really a tightrope walk of how do you follow this and like where do your sympathies lie. But what the
Wow.
magic of this movie is it's a performance-based kind of thriller, and Josh Hartnett is awesome in this. Like Josh Hartnett is really good in this. He's been on a comeback streak doing things like that Black Mirror episode or
Yeah.
Oppenheimer. And yeah, the Hartnett resurgence is
gosh,
upon
yeah.
us, people. Like he is just
Having
really,
a
really good.
moment.
Yeah. And
I love to see this. Wow, this makes it so much more interesting to me that he's the okay, now it's all making sense. And
yeah.
oh my gosh.
So, but
Okay.
it's not just that, but it's like tightrope walking because of his two lives. Like
Yeah.
most serial killers, he has like a whole regular life. And so he's at a concert. He's basically at a teen idol concert with his daughter, who's super excited for this, while it's this intricate manhunt trap that they've set for him. And so what I like about it is there's less of a Shyamalan twist emphasis on this. The story does go in unexpected places because, as you can probably surmise, this single setting thriller in just the span of a concert can't necessarily carry an entire movie. But it goes interesting places when it does. And I know there's been some kind of blowback, as there always is with a Shyamalan movie. But look, guys, this is one of his most solid works yet. Like it is a solid, good B movie. And Josh Hartnett is just eating this up, as the kids would say. He ate this. Like it is a great performance from him. And just seeing him kind of slide, and they're just scenes and sequences of seeing him slide in between these two personas that he's putting on is crazy and frightening, and it's really good. So it's funny, it's thrilling, and yes, is it a little bit of a Nepo thing with his daughter? Of course, but Suleika really does do well as playing this pop idol, Lady Raven, and she, even gets an arc in this, and it's well done. So, solid B movie thriller, like great matinee if you're gonna do that kind of thing. Like, yeah, and let's be honest, if you were on that Hartnett train back, when in the 2000s and whatnot, like. The man's having a resurgence. Don't stand in his way.
It was even earlier than that, because I feel like it was like my childhood.
It started with me. I was just remembering seeing this movie was the first time I remembered. I was like, oh, you know what? I remember my boy Zeke from The Faculty. Like that. That's where that's where I jumped on the Hartnett thing. I was like, man, this kid's gonna be something. Like, Zeke. Zeke from The Faculty, baby. Like, yeah. So. He's having a moment, man, and like Shyamalan and Hartnett together is good, and this is solid stuff from Shyamalan, and it still has the Shyamalan-isms in it, the close-ups, the close-up monologues, but it's faster paced. It's not as preachy or as like knock at the cabin door or as drawn out as old. It's pretty from the moment it starts. It's pretty boom, 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 boom,
that's cool,
step by step, and it's cleverly written. Like the things this guy does to try to stay one step ahead of the trap actually works and is interesting. Inevitably, there is an epilogue and an ending that people are going to feel some kind of way about. But if you get through 2/3 of a good movie, and it's just like you feel about the end, I'm sold. So great performance, solid work from Shyamalan. I'm not going to sit here and be somebody bad mouthing Trap. I was locked in for the whole time. So
nice.
Yeah, good. And yeah, no, it's a good, like I said, it's going to be one of those like thrillers that I could rewatch, like and see. Like I'm a horror thriller aficionado. I love this stuff, and this is one I could definitely put on a rewatch. And it's up there with like something like Devil, which Shyamalan didn't direct, he wrote that, but that same kind of thing, like a good kind of B movie genre experience. All right, so that's Trap. I suggest you guys check that out. Like I said, great matinee choice if you want to do that. Janelle, jumping over to you. We have updates from your boy.
Yeah, well, also just speaking of matinee, I went and saw Deadpool, Wolverine in a matinee on a Sunday, and there were, like, tons of little kids in the audience, and it was just so funny to me that they were in that film, and now I have a kid, I'm like, "Am I gonna be that kind of parent, or am I gonna be, like, the parent that's like, 'Oh, you can't watch this, like, you know, R-rated drama?'"
Yeah. See, that's where the MCU stuff gets confusing
It
because I have a
does, yeah.
6-year-old son, and I was like, "Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna put this on his radar." But he came
Yeah.
to me and he's like, "Daddy, did you
Deadpool.
go see Deadpool Wolverine?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you know?" He's like, "I know they're just teaming up and like there's a bunch of old movies." And I'm like, "Oh, because he's into
Yeah.
the MCU, so
Yeah.
he's keeping up and he knows other and it's part of the culture and people are talking and plus he's watching YouTube, he stumbles across shorts and whatnot. So
Yeah,
he
of course.
yeah, so you'll see. You'll
We'll
see.
see. I have a feeling
Yeah.
my kid is gonna be cursing in kindergarten, and I'm gonna have to, like, argue with the teachers that, like, cursing is just words.
Yeah, no, I make a lot of school trips. Yeah. I make a lot of school trips. Like,
I love it. Well, at
yeah.
least we touched
School's
on some
starting
Marvel.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we'll tap into our DC stuff. So Superman has finally wrapped. We got confirmation. Not finally. It hasn't been that long. It feels like just yesterday they started this film. But James Gunn did confirm it, and he wrote this big, loving, beautiful post on Instagram with the cast and crew. I guess I can read the whole thing. It's kind of long. God bless our cast and crew whose commitment, creativity, and hard work have brought this project to life. I set out to make a movie about a good man in a world that isn't always so much. And the goodness and kindness and love I've encountered on a daily basis on the set has inspired me and thrust me forward when I felt too spent to move on my own. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It's been an honor. The destination has been Superman, but the journey has been toil and laughter and emotions and ideas and magic we've shared together on set. And for that, I am forever grateful. That's really cool. It's been an honor. I feel like I have all the good vibes when I see this because I feel like he is really passionate about this and he feels really good about it. And whenever James Gunn feels good about something, I feel good about something. It seems like he has confidence going into this wrap, and that makes me optimistic. I'm very optimistic when it comes to this. We also got confirmation. David Cornsweet celebrated his rap as well, and he came out with a video. Was it on social? I can't remember if it was. I think it was on X or maybe it was on Instagram. Anyways, he did a story where he was just talking about, how exciting it was to do this and that they wrapped, and I'm really excited about like him being excited too. I don't know. Kofi. I'm optimistic about this. How do you feel about the rap and the finishing and James Gunn's attitude, and what are you thinking?
So we did our Comic-Con bonus episode earlier this
Mhm.
week. Shout out, go back and listen to that because it's really all our fresh thoughts about all this. And we said that DC came out of this looking, sparkling for the most
Yeah.
part. Like everything DC did from the comic level to the TV level to the movie interconnected universe level worked. Their new line of storyline in the comics with Absolute coming, their own Ultimate Universe looks exciting. Penguin and the Batman universe continuing, that all looks real exciting. And in the interconnected universe, we got Creature Commandos kind of first look in that trailer, and it felt very James Gunn. People were like, all right, we got the classic logo back. So it feels like we're cooking right now. And I know people get all spazzed out about early set photos and promotional photos and stuff like that, but I never do because they can't capture the actual vision of the film. Like, so that big thing of him pulling on the boots and the wrinkles or the suit, I'm not gonna get too hyped about all that. Especially not DC. I did the whole Snyderverse era of this, and I was in media doing this, and everything about Gal Gadot's workout photo and the first photo of Henry Cavill against the bank
Mhm.
vault and all in the first photo of Ben Affleck's Batman. And, we
How
did
was
all
that
these
hype?
arguments.
Were people pumped about it, or what was the general consensus back then when it first, like, kind of
Oh, my
leaked?
Janelle, I will never forget the day that the news dropped that Ben Affleck
Mhm.
was Batman. I was walking out of my apartment, 34th Street, New York, going to meet some friends for
I was
dinner.
pissed.
Um, my boy, this was the screen. I was still editor in chief of Screen Rant back then. And so I got a message from my boy, Ben Kendrick. Shout out to Ben. And it was just like, yeah, Ben Affleck is Batman. And I was like, stop messing with me. And he was like, no, it's not. I'm not joking. And I literally dropped to the floor because I used to carry my book bag and my computer everywhere back then because you never knew. You go out in New York City, you're out in the streets for like all
Yeah.
day. And I
Yeah.
never knew where I had to pop up in a bar or a restaurant or somewhere and do some work and blog something for Screen Rant. Anyway, I had to drop to the floor in the doorway of my apartment. My wife was like, just come inside. I was like, there's no time. And I'm just sitting half in the doorway, half out of the doorway, typing up this article as fast
Oh
as I
my
can. And
God.
like got it up so quick, but was just like, oh my God. Then had to hop on the subway, met some friends at a bar we were sitting in, in the How I Met Your Mother days. And like, yeah, we were freaking out. But that was not as good as the time we found out about Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Because we used to do,
Ooh.
if you can dig it up, go shout out one of the OG podcasts that got all your little podcasts started. The Screen Rant Underground we used to do. We were live doing a show and recording a show when
Wow.
that news broke. And it broke while we were in the middle of an argument about DC. And so it came out and somebody got to go, well, you think DC's so smart? Fine. Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. Suck on that. And then everybody had to be like, what? Wait, what? What? Stop. No, don't like. And then it just broke and everybody was like, oh my God. And then like, yeah. And it was one of the funniest moments ever that I think I'm ever going to have podcasting because it couldn't have been more perfectly timed. It was like God himself had stepped off a cloud and been like, here you go, boom. Because everybody was like, somebody was going on a rant about how smart DC's casting was and how we didn't get the larger vision and blah, 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 blah. Somebody was like, yeah, well, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor.
That is so
oh
great.
man, yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway, we are so far off topic.
I love it. But yeah,
to answer your question, Janelle, I actually do have faith in Gunn. I have faith in where his spirit of DC is. It seems I just learned this term, exennial, I guess I am. Like that Gen
exennial.
X.
That's what we are.
Yeah, so that Gen X, and I feel like James Gunn's on that vibe too.
Mhm.
So he remembers like the Snyder era and the Burton era and the Donner era, but he also remembers the Super Friends era. That because I started with those cartoons, I had weird little tapes of like the Aquaman,
should we explain what an exennial is in case our listeners have no idea what that is? An exennial is basically
like 81, 83, yeah,
Yep.
79 to like
People that
83.
like did not grow up with cell phones and did not
Yeah.
have Facebook until we were in college. So basically, like we kind of were both millennial and Gen X, but we weren't all of either because we were such a mashup. Like we were almost all the way mentally developed, but we were in college and they're like, hey, there's this new college only app for Facebook. It's called Facebook and you have to be a university student to use it. And I was like, okay, I'll make an account. I'm a freshman in college. Let's go. And I got a cell phone literally when I left for college. So social media wasn't a thing. Anyways, exennial life is really interesting. It's a really
we've seen so much.
Yeah, we've had.
I frame it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I frame it from like you might have caught the end of the 8-track, then you had the tape, then the CD,
Yep.
then the MP3,
tapes
and
for me.
then streaming. Yeah, yeah, and then we've been through it all, and we've had to update our music systems a million times. Like, yeah, if you were spitting high school game over AOL Instant Messenger, you're an exennial. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You had to do dial up and make sure your parents weren't on the phone. Yeah, you know what we're talking about. So we're very specific.
Shout out to our exennial crew.
yeah, we are very special breed. And James Gunn, I feel like, is on that vibe. So I remember the point is, I think he remembers the fun of the Adam West, the Super Friends, like all of that stuff too. And I think that's the thing we've kind of been missing because that stuff was like the fun stuff. And so I still have faith in this. Yeah, it's sidekick. Somebody said sidekicks. You guys are great in the comments. Our live shows. I love our live show. Oh, for the days if you were a player, if you pulled out the biggest sidekick or something like that, flipped it open. Yeah, BBM. Oh, everybody thought they were so grown with BBM. Yeah. Oh man, everybody thought they were so official with their suits and with their crazy oversized 2000 suits in their BBM. Click, 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 click. If you haven't seen the Blackberry movie with Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny, go back and watch that. It's excellent. It's hilarious. It's all about that time. We're getting so off track because you guys are great in the
We are
comments, just
unhinged, and I love it.
breaking down
Uh,
Exennial life. Yeah, man, we should just start an Exennial podcast. I mean,
I would be
we,
so
we
down.
yo, you'd have great
Just
entries. I mean,
throwbacks.
American. We could go through it. We could do it all, man. We should get into it. But yeah, it's so I have faith so far. I feel like DC is fun again. Like
Mhm.
so far, everything I've seen, and I mean, it looks like we're having fun again.
The
And
cast looks like they're having a blast. The crew looks like they're loving life. Like, it seems like everybody's very humble and excited to be there doing this. I think that we all like, I mean, we need to be cautiously optimistic though, because remember how excited we were doing during COVID for DC stuff, and then right? Like,
yeah,
we
I
were
mean, we've
like,
gotten burned so many times
I
before. I
know.
mean, we have gotten burned quite a lot
But
before. But
James Gunn, what if he's
yeah,
like, you know what? He's the DC Jesus.
oh my goodness. Oh boy. All right, we're going that far. I mean, hey, we're out there. Let's do it. If I'm going to put my faith in anything, I think now's the time. If I get burned after this, we can call
Yeah.
it a wrap. Okay,
Yep.
we can just call it a wrap on trying this whole comic book movie stuff, and we can just keep moving on. But yeah. For the record, I think Deadpool and Wolverine has grown on me more in the weeks I've seen.
Dude,
I
love it
think
so
it's
much.
better when you see how much fun a lot of people are having, and it always makes me happy to see
It's
people
like the
having fun
masculine,
with it.
it's like the male version of Barbie,
Yeah,
right?
kind of in a
Like,
weird way. Yeah.
yeah, it's so awesome. I'm having a blast. I love it so much.
Hey, shout out to Jay Jones in the YouTube comments. He remembers when the Screen Rant Underground story about the Eisenberg thing. That was great radio. That was hilarious. It almost broke us as a group, but that wasn't the only time we almost got broken as a group. Todd Phillips had a lot to do with that too. Todd Phillips almost broke my old podcast and this podcast when Joker came out.
Oh my
Man, I
god.
can't wait for Joker 2.
Oh
Oh
god.
man, shout out to Jay Jones for keeping those memories alive, man. Thank you. All right, so we're still hopefully optimistic on Superman and the whole DC universe operation right now, and it's wrapped filming. And I think we're gonna see good things. I think James Gunn's smart enough not to put out bad marketing. Also, I think we're gonna have some fun with it, and I like the kind of themes he's talked about. This theme
Mhm.
of the comedy coming from like a very good man in a world that may not still be that way, and what that's all about. So yeah. And no, none of this stuff we're talking about is going to take away from Jude and Foster on YouTube. No, I'm still going to be watching that Batman vs Superman Ultimate Cut too. Like I like when I feel like I want to get deep into depth kind of superhero examination stuff. Like I always pop that on. So yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Let's move on because we got other things to talk about. Moving to the side of slightly not really anime, but to Korean hit TV coming back to Netflix. Squid Game. We now
Ooh.
have an official release date for season 2 of Squid Game, and we're not getting it for Christmas, but it will be there the day after. So the day
Yeah.
after Christmas, December 26th, we will be getting Squid Game season 2. We are hyped for it. They kind of took our idea. I feel like some of the Squid Gamers
Mhm.
might be listening to this because have you seen the marketing for this?
You heard it here first. They
Remember
listen to
what we were
Comic Book
talking about?
Nation. Yes, I
We
do.
were Yeah, so like we were talking about how they should do it the opening of Squid Game season 2 as if it was the reality show again and make you think you were watching
Absolutely.
that and then
Yep.
just start really like show somebody really get like shot in the head. Well, obviously not really, but like somebody just get shot in the head in the middle of the reality show and have everybody
Yep.
be like, "Whoa." And then be like, "No, this is season 2 of the actual show." But they kind of flipped that idea into an Olympics promo where it looked like people were running track until they started getting shot down in the green suits and you're like, wait, what is happening? And then it's a Squid Game promo. So well done to Netflix and the Squid Game marketing team for getting that marketing stuff and not having to break us off a single piece.
We both
That
took a
was
sip. Love
Yeah, I
that.
don't think that was planned shade. It just
Nope.
came off that way
It's
and we
just
will
good.
own it. We will take it.
I even
Yeah.
side-eyed for you.
Oh, thank you. This is what happens when Matt's gone.
Oh god.
Oh boy. There's not an adult in the room. We are both parents, but there's still not an
Oh
adult in the room.
god.
So yeah, Squid Game season 2 is coming, but we also got a further announcement, which is that there will be Squid Game season 3, and it will be the finale of the series. So we have a finite
Nice.
run on Squid Game now. There's going to be a predetermined ending. It will be season 3, which will come in 2025, so next year. So we're getting season 2 at the end of this year, and then season 3 will be the end of it
in the same
and
year. That'll be
yep.
cool. I'm
So
about that. I kind of hate, like, having to wait in between shows. I really do forget what happens a lot of times because I do watch so much content that I do wish sometimes they were more stacked, you know?
yep. Yeah. I mean, but I think this is smart. Like, I think Netflix needs to do more of these. Just like strike while the iron's hot, knock out like decide like early on like a finite point to this, knock out those seasons and create a content block, move on. If you
Mhm.
want to do more spin-off, prequel, do something. We've seen it can work. House of the Dragon's proven it can work. Like, just let's get solid content blocks.
Amen.
And so far, we know that, we think that they're dropping the episodes. People have been asking all at once. But, they also could do the thing where they've done with the reality shows, which has proven pretty effective, I think, which is you drop them in batches. So you get like 3, then 3, then
I
3,
love
or
that.
whatever it is. So do
Love
I. I actually does because it controls. I think it's a smart thing that Netflix is going to grow on because it's like controlled binging. It's like,
Yeah, it
you can
scratches that
burn.
itch or
Yeah, you burn through it, but then it makes you want to come back, wait and come
Yep,
back for more. You're like,
and you're just
oh,
waiting and waiting.
yeah.
Yep,
But then you're
that's
talking and, you start having interactions about it
yeah,
and, it creates social buzz. And then
sometimes
when
one
things come back,
episode isn't enough to create a buzz, and
no.
sometimes you have those filler episodes, and yeah, I think that's a really good approach.
Yeah. So maybe they should do that with Squid Game. Just drop a couple of them, get us buzzing by the end of one, the end of a third, and then come
Mhm.
back the next week with another batch of episodes. Because it worked for Squid Game, the reality show. It definitely did. That became a big phenomenon when they did it like that, and the finale was huge when it came out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see. But this is it. We all know that by next year we will be reaching the end of Squid Game, and there's some political stuff popping up. I hear you on the political front, but this ain't political nation. Trust us. A Pennsylvania guy and a Florida girl break down the nation for you.
No, thanks.
No thanks. We're good on that one.
My
Yeah,
Twitch
we
stream,
get
I do
enough.
not allow politics, like, I
Yeah,
literally
no, we get
name
enough
my rules.
interesting. Yeah, we get enough interesting guests through this medium alone. Let alone, who would we encounter on the political lane? So, shout out to all the pundits who drop back and forth. People like Van Lathan over at the Midnight Boys, but we're not doing that. We're just whoever Netflix donates to, you know what? That doesn't. Yeah, we just want to still have a company tomorrow. That's our
Yep.
immediate concerns. Yep. So we're gonna get back on our game. But thank you. All right. I think we've done the thing. That's it. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to be joined by a special guest, and we are going to get into this Batman Cape Crusader talk because I've been waiting to talk about this one. And let's get into it. Comic Book Nation will be right back. Ooh, what's up? Am I back?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Still said the host had muted my mic. All right. Some quick things some people have asked about in the comments. Yeah, Cobra Kai. I don't think they've confirmed that Cobra Kai is getting a spinoff quite yet. They're interested in possibly doing a Mr. Miyagi prequel series, which
Okay.
I'd be interested in that. I would
Yeah,
know.
me
Hats
too.
off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also Citadel. Amazon is still pushing the
What?
Citadel thing. Yeah,
No.
Citadel still happening. Yep. So Citadel
Oh
Honey
gosh.
Bunny is still happening. The Honey Bunny spinoff is gotten a premiere date. So it's coming in November, and that is, if you don't remember, so Citadel was the Russo brothers uh like
I actually
whole
liked it, but
thing.
a
Yeah,
lot of
I
people
mean it was
didn't.
all right.
It didn't
Yeah,
do
the Russo
well.
brothers production company, AGBO, put out this like billion-dollar spy action series
Mhm.
that was this ambitious worldwide concept where there was a main series, Richard, call it, Rob Stark and Priya Chopra, and it was all right, but it was not good enough for the price or this
Right.
world-spanning ambitious thing. But this is the Indian theme set version of it, Honey Bunny, and so yeah, this is going to be the kind of the Indian
It
backdrop
feels
thing.
like you're calling me Honey Bunny. Like Kofi, it's okay. It's like the
Yeah,
nickname. Hey, Honey Bunny.
I can think of his Pulp Fiction, right? Like,
For anyone who's listening, yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
fine.
we have another one, Citadel Diana, which is the Italian one, set one, is also coming in
Oh
October.
god, I
So
remember that. Yeah.
yeah,
And
so
they
Citadel
their
is
whole thing
still
was they
going to be a
wanted to
thing.
create all these different ones, and then
Yeah,
they'd like, oh gosh.
yeah, unite in one big in Citadel
Yeah.
Endgame. So
No,
no,
no.
no, no. There's so much other stuff I could be watching, but I guess we're gonna still do this. But if you've been wondering why the Russo brothers are coming back to direct those Avengers movies, somebody's got to pay for this. So there you go.
Mhm.
Citadel, still a thing. All right. All right. Getting back to what we're talking about, we want to welcome our special guest. Did we even? Oh my God! Did we ping him? Yeah, there we go. Rich is on. Shout out to Rich. Even this late in the game, Rich is never not on top of it. Shout out to Richard. We have special guests from our Comic Book Nation Anime Initiative segment. Evan Valentine is hopping back on to join us. What's up, man?
Hey everybody! Hey Kofi! Hey Janelle!
Evan!
Thank you
And if
guys!
you guys
Thank you
are
guys for having me.
Yeah, we don't have to do even
Hi.
like crazy introductions anymore. If you guys are proper fans of Comic Book Nation and you
If you're
are,
real fans,
if you're real fans and you're into the whole entire nation of podcasts we built for you, then you already know Evan's face and voice from Anime Initiative because they have been killing it this year in their debut year and getting all kinds of crazy anime hype there.
Hmm?
But today, Evan's not just an anime expert, he's an expert in many things, including the general world of animation. And he's here to help us break down Batman Caped Crusader, which, Evan, you gave a 5-star out of 5-star
Yep,
review of.
I
So
sure did.
so let's let you cook first and just let the people know why you felt, because you were off the chest, unafraid to come out here and say, in a world where people are asking, can this possibly live up to Batman the Animated Series? You said, hey man, 5 stars.
Yeah, yeah. I think that well, to start, this is as close as we have gotten to the spiritual successor of Batman the Animated Series. This has Bruce Timm comes back in a role of helping to create this, as well as like some giant movers and shakers in Hollywood. Matt Reeves, the director of the Batman, J.J. Abrams. We have comic writers Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka are also, they helped write this. And one of the things that I love so much about this, and there's so much I can talk about, but to give you an idea of why I kind of gave this a perfect score for me, is that this is my perfect interpretation of what Batman should be. I think that this kind of takes the stance of this. To start, this feels like a timeless series. It takes place, I want to say, 1920s, 1930s aesthetic, with a Batman who is just starting out. He's maybe a little under a year in terms of protecting Gotham City and everything. And this also happens to focus on, for me personally, as Kofi said, like, I'm an anime guy, but I am also like a huge comic book fan. And one of the perfect times for me when it comes to Batman in general is the time when Batman is just starting out, when the mob still has a big is ruling Gotham City with an iron fist, but they're starting to slowly introduce the weirdos, the costumed, colorful villains, such as in this, it's Harley Quinn, it's Two-Face, it is Firefly, as well as some lesser, such as Gentleman Ghost, Onomatopoeia, Nocturna, and yeah, a bunch of other really cool villains. They have new takes on Clayface, and one of the things that this show is able to do, and I think that there's definitely like an argument to be made. I know that some folks won't give this a perfect like 5 out of 5 like me. I think that for me, that's more of a personal taste on it. I think that one of the things that this show does is that it is able to create a somber, slow burn of an animated series that focuses just as much on the colorful villains as it does on the mob and police corruption in Gotham City, and kind of blends those all together in a really interesting, compelling, fascinating way. So that's kind of why I gave it the score that I did. Oh, Kofi, you're muted.
Kofi's muted.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Expert host. I wanted to say, yeah, listen, guys, we're going to do this a little bit differently, because normally we thought about spinning this off as a whole spoilers discussion. But, everybody's news has been slow as everybody's in post Comic-Con week, and we did a bonus episode and all that. So I figured we're going to just get into this and really dig into this, because, look, if you're not watching this, I think you still want to be sold. So we're going to try to hit some points to maybe tell you whether or not we think you should watch it. And we're not going to get so specific about everything, but we are going to dig into points of episodes and things like that, because there is some very interesting stuff to talk about. So there are going to be some pretty mild to medium spoilers about Batman, Cape Crusader we're going to go into as we get into this. But I have a list of questions here, and I think you just laid out a pretty good one. Is it a fitting successor of Batman to Batman, the animated series? Because that's the initial question. That, and is Hamish Linklater a Batman that is suitably comparable to Kevin Conroy? My whole thing with this series is it took an episode or two for me, who has never stopped watching the animated series regularly. I rushed home for that as a kid, and as it's changed formats, I remember when the DVD box set came out, getting that. I stream it all the time still. I just love watching that series and the noir feel. I love film noir. I used to be a major film student. Yeah, I place this anywhere from, I think it encompasses that whole 20s, 30s, 40s kind of early Hollywood into the noir era of WB specifically, who was the noir king of film back in the 40s. That whole era. I'm not going to get to film school on this, but yeah, I think somebody put out a meme of Victoria Justice, as a kid, and then when they came back into the more recent series, and it was like me watching Batman the animated series as a kid, me watching Batman Cape Crusader as an adult, and I think that really nails it. Like, this is, I wouldn't necessarily show this to my kid, because I think each episode, the villains are particularly scary. And in this version, I think the violence is, there's blood and stuff like that in this, and some pretty intense things happen. And so I wouldn't show this to my kid, but I would, but it scratches my itch as an adult who's coming back and still loves Batman the animated series.
But it's not like gross, like Invincible.
No,
I think
no, but that's the thing that's almost worse though, because I think it would give my kid genuine nightmares, because there's stuff in here that you feel like could be real. Like, Onomatopoeia is like such a ridiculous character, but in this, it's freaky when he's just saying like random words and trying to get somebody killed and stuff like that. Two-Face is scary. Clayface is scary. Even for all the controversy of a female penguin, she's freaky. Like, yeah. It's nuts. And
it's an excellent point. The idea of, Janelle, you asked whether or not this was, adult, and in a lot of ways, like when it comes to, there's not a ton of blood. There's not like gore probably isn't in there. Like, there's no nudity. There's like no cursing, or if there is cursing, like I totally missed it. But when it comes to the subject matter, and when it comes to the story itself, that
And the
does feel much.
tone.
Yeah, the tone
Yeah,
and the
the
tone.
tone is like very I've only watched the first 3 episodes, by the way.
Mhm.
But yeah, the tone feels I mean, I genuinely like if I close my eyes, like this would be such a good live action drama.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is it's really cool. Yeah.
Very, very like adult themed.
Mhm.
It's like the subject matter is very skewed towards adults. Like that's
Absolutely.
kind of in when looking at this as whether or not it's the spiritual successor of Batman the Animated Series. This feels like it was made for the fans that grew up watching BTAS when they were kids, and now they're getting into this when they're adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll address some things from the comments as well. I know people, we live in such a charged social time, and there's easy words for people to reach for and say, oh, this show is this or that or the other, in especially this particular year where people are reaching back. But yeah, there are Batman the Animated Series used the classic framework of like classic throwback golden era DC, but it was very modern minded for the times of the 90s. It was talking about stuff that was happening in our time, but using the framework of this old show to do so. This show's doing the same. Like, it's not a spoiler to tell you that there's an early story arc where Bruce Wayne is going to therapy. And it's
Yep.
like, in the 1930s, did a gentleman go to therapy? No, obviously, absolutely not. Nobody thought, everybody was like, you're going to see a quack. What are you, a mental midget? You're going to see a shrink? Like, what are you doing? Like, just shake off the shell shock. Like that's the mentality we had then. So, yes, the entire arrangement of Bruce Wayne in this setting going to see a therapist or Harleen Quinzel being a therapist it's anachronistic, and you got to accept that. So, yeah, there are some things they do from the comics, like some of the birds and prey. There's a whole episode, like a little birds of prey Easter egg, but also some of those relationships between the women. Like, yeah, of course, that would have been controversial in that time, but we live in a time where it's not as much. So of course the show is blending times, and
Mhm.
we can't sit here and say that's anachronistic. Batman animated series is called timeless because it's playing with old and new at the same time, and so
Mhm.
is this is obviously a very modern perspective. And what's hilarious to me is in a lot of ways it's Bruce Timm's reformed perspective of himself. Like, because I had conversations we were going to get into at the end with the cast of this. I talked to Hamish Linklater, Minnie Driver, and Jamie Chung at Comic-Con last week, and they were talking about working with Bruce Timm, and he was heavily involved in reshaping these characters, which is hilarious to me. Hilarious to me that we have reached this weird point in fandom where the fandom thinks that the fandom, like, let me just say this because I think it's just still my current dad struggles that are becoming part of this metaphor. But fandom, you are the child and the creators are the parent. Okay, it never flips. That relationship does not flip. Okay, no matter how much you think you get grown and know, the creator is still the parent, you are still the child. Okay, so it's ridiculous to me that we are reaching a point that people are coming for Bruce Timm and for the changes he wants to make to characters he created, helped create, like Harley Quinn. Like, who
I
else is qualified to do that, guys? Like, I mean, if he wants to update who Harley Quinn is now and do that because he's older and lives in a time where things have changed and his perspective as a growing, evolving human have changed, you can call him what you want, but like that's what this creator that you celebrated is now doing. And if you're saying, well, I don't like who you are now that you've gotten older and hopefully wiser and like I have more input into this character, that's crazy to me. Like, you don't
it's
own the character.
that's actually like one of the strengths that I talk about in my original review was that, listen, like for Batman fans, Batman has been around for almost 100 years. We're getting close to like his
Yeah.
100th anniversary, and the idea of creating new aspects to some of these characters, I think that was one of the things that really like when I got screeners, we got screeners like a month ago for this, and when I watched, I had one of the things that I did, I binged this in 2 days.
Oh yeah, me too.
Originally, and then I rewatched it again just like before this. I kind of like rewatched as much as I could just to help me refresh my memory. But like when they introduce Oswalda for the first time, this isn't a spoiler. This is kind of, they have this in the trailers as well as they release this a couple of days ago with San Diego Comic-Con. I thought it was a very interesting, compelling way to kind of rethink of the Penguin as a villain. And they took this approach to all of the different villains in ways that were really compelling, that were really interesting. Like, without going into spoilers, the way that they recreate Two-Face is really interesting. The way that they recreate the Gentleman Ghost. The Gentleman Ghost was, the Gentleman Ghost has always kind of been a joke, but like in this, they reframe it in such a way that it's like it works exceptionally well. They have new takes on Clayface. They made
that was
Clayface
the one that.
little...
Yeah, when they did the Carlo episode, that's where I locked in and was like, okay, we are cooking with gas now. Like this is and I think the thing that people are not stating enough is, like the original animated series, each of these episodes feels like its own complete movie. Like, there's a whole arc in 30 minutes to each of these episodes where you get deep characterization of like villains, supporting characters, as well as something that features Batman solving a problem, but he's not overbearing the episode, but along the way is helping to evolve the Batman Bruce Wayne character to where there is a kind of powerful climax by the end of it in just a few lines of dialogue that change with Batman that indicate a whole kind of arc across the season of where he is by the end. And so, like, yeah, the writing in this is just top notch, and each episode is so engrossing. And that Clayface episode is so good. And, you know, and that's hard to do because the Clayface and Two-Face stories from the original animated series were those 2-part ones that were so iconic at the time that they made Clayface and Two-Face into these much bigger, compelling characters. And to be able to do that in this show and with both of those characters again in different ways, like you said, it's a feat. Like, you pulled something off with that. Like, because
I think that there's actually a point that I wanted to, that I won't say out loud because it would be considered a spoiler, but like there are aspects of Harvey Dent in this that are so interesting in terms of like how Two-Face works that has never been done in it's never been done in a comic book, never been done in a movie, no animated series, but it works in such a way that it's like, it's still Two-Face at his core, but it's introducing like a lot of new, interesting, compelling aspects into that. You know, Kofi, you would kind of mention like the Clayface stuff as well. The Clayface episode is effectively, it works well in terms of like, once again, pushing the idea that this is also very much a detective show. This is a detective story that focuses on Bruce Wayne, who doesn't have the advantage of having a like really good technology. You know, one of the things that I loved is the fact that the Batmobile, it's just a car. I thought that was such an interesting way of doing it, where it's just like, maybe it's a little more souped up than your other cars that you see in the 20s, 30s, 40s, whenever this is supposed to take place. But it's just a regular car. And that's like Bruce Wayne, Batman, is having to work within the parameters of these, you know, quote unquote weaknesses for him. And the way that they do it with Clayface, the fact that they're presenting everything in a way where so much is different from past iterations of Batman that we've seen before, is that when they present the mystery of Clayface and like what is happening, what's going on, you can't predict it because it's that difficult. Everything's up in the air, and that makes for compelling storytelling, I think, like when it comes to watching this versus past iterations of Batman.
Janelle, I want to get you in here. Which ones have you seen?
I watched the first 3 episodes.
So Penguin was the first one I remember.
Yep. Penguin,
Clayface is second.
Clayface, and Catwoman.
Okay, yeah.
Catwoman's great.
Yeah. Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
Christina
Catwoman is
Ricci
great.
ate that one up. Yeah, Christina Ricci's
Dude.
having like talk about resurgences. Like we were talking about the Josh Hartnett resurgence.
Yes.
Christina
Oh my
Ricci
gosh.
resurgence has been just epic. It's
Mm.
crazy how good she's just come back on the scene with things like whatchamacallit on Showtime.
Yellow
the
Jackets.
Yellow Jackets.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh man, Christina Ricci's out here just killing it. Like,
So cool.
yeah, she's great as Catwoman. And again, I think Catwoman's an obvious one we can talk about because it doesn't spoil much to tell you like,
Right.
how they change things. So let's focus in on that. The Catwoman one, and here's what they do. And they do this, like Evan said, with every character in this. It's the core is there, but they completely change the dynamics of the characters. So in this one, instead of Selena Kyle being like street prostitutes, you know, son of illegitimate Falcone bastard, you know, all that stuff, she's a rich socialite whose dad like went broke and she's trying to hang on to like her little wealth and clout and all of that. And she's a known klepto. It's kind of like a little Winona Ryder callback thing, like, right? And so she's a known klepto around town who graduates to cat burglaring and does all that. And so it's Catwoman because she still has that Catwoman like flamboyance, that arrogance, that like, oh, I'm gonna take what I need and that's how I'm what kind of life I want to lead, and you know, that kind of whole thing. But she's also a socialite, kind of like Bruce Wayne, and there's a lot of scenes with her and her like housekeeper and a whole arc with that, and her having to learn as she steps into cat burglaring what that means for her life as a socialite. And it's all very new, interesting kind of dynamics. And so like, hey, Jose Saranga, we heard you. You don't like Batman. So you said bye. Why are you still here? You said bye. Go.
The live shows are wonderful, guys.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
can't, he's clearly talking to
Like,
someone
Jose.
in the comments.
Yeah, we heard you, man. We got you. You don't like it. Shout out to Jose. He does not like this. So you
Cheers,
can, Jose, you can get out of here. This is not the conversation for you. Did Winona Ryder pass because it hit too close to reality? Maybe. But yeah, so that's what they do with Catwoman. And so it allows you as a Batman fan to get reintroduced to each of these characters. And at no point did I feel like I wasn't getting Catwoman because her interactions with both Bruce Wayne, because like, again, Selena Kyle's also a socialite, and Catwoman and the Batman, and that spice is it's still kind of really fun in that kind of way. And there's even like a little, people have said in the comments, like there's a little Easter egg with the Batmobile and the classic Catmobile and things like that. And we get fun stuff like that, plus the classic costume for Catwoman and stuff. So yeah, and Penguin's another one. Like people were so up, oh god, it's such a woke thing. They switched it to a woman. And it's like in 5 minutes flat with Minnie Driver's performance, like, yeah, they introduced Oswald Cobblepot, and instead of being like all squawky and weird like Oswald, she's a performer. Her first thing in the series is a musical number because she runs like a little ship in the harbor where, you know, people can go into open seas and gamble. She's running a hustle. And she's like, as a lady, and especially in this kind of setting, she's doing the whole Mae West, hey, what are you doing? You know, she's lighting everybody's cigarettes, doing a song and a dance and everything. Then she goes in the back and murders people and is like, yeah, and her scheme for how to control Gotham is pretty nuts. And it's just like, yeah, she's locking down the crime trade and she does some pretty intense things. And she has 2 sons, and seeing her as a mother is even more terrifying. You're like, oh my God, like this lady is a true sociopath. And like, that's it like, I like that Penguin. So I had a good time doing that. Yeah, and watching that. So it was kind of a nice flip, and I didn't see it coming because, like Evan said, and I think Evan dropped right now, so hopefully he gets back here in a second. But like Evan said, you know, it was a surprise. They didn't tell you guys about Minnie Driver in Penguin until Comic-Con, and we couldn't, I mean, we heard the voice, but we couldn't confirm it from the screeners until Comic-Con. But I came away already liking that new version of Penguin. And I can't wait for you, Janelle, to get to the Harley Quinn episode.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to spoil anything for that, but again, really interesting flip with a Harley Quinn who's not based on the Joker in kind of what they do, not just with it, but did you already clock the setup that's been going on in those first 3 episodes?
No, I haven't. Like,
So
I mean,
did you wonder who Bruce was going to talk to in
oh
those
no.
sessions?
Well, they said Quinzel.
Yeah.
They
All right.
actually
So
said. So I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Okay, all right, where are we going with this?" But I will say that on that same note, that I am realizing that I actually don't know a lot of Batman's villains. I don't know a lot of backstory on a lot of the villains. Welcome back, Evan. And this is such a great crash course for someone like me who doesn't I know who Clayface is, but I don't know who Clayface was. Like, I don't know the backstory. I don't know things like that. So
well, that's
it's
the funny thing. Like, there's been 3 to 4 to 5 now, 6 maybe
wow.
Clayfaces.
Okay.
And so the one Mac Gargan that we got in Batman the Animated Series, the big monster Clayface, he was
Yeah.
like the second Clayface. That
Okay.
wasn't even the first. The first one was this one, Boris Karloff, a famous
Yeah.
actor whose face got all messed up and
And
he
I
started killing
didn't know
people
that.
and was a master of disguise. Yeah.
It's so
That's
cool for
that's
me, and it's
yeah,
really
that's
palatable because it's short, like, each episode is short. So, for me to get this kind of, like, background knowledge of these classic characters has been really, really exciting for me, and it's kind of reinvigorated me with, like, the Batman content because I do feel like they're putting more of an emphasis on the actual stories of the villains and not just the bat, right? Like, I know Batman's story and I've read it a million times and I'm kind of OD'd on Batman. You guys know this. But this is refreshing for someone like me who doesn't know all of these stories. And I love how it's episodic. So each episode is like its own contained thing where I'm getting to know some of these characters in a different way. And it really is making me feel more knowledgeable in DC lore and, more, I guess, educated, having not read a lot of these Batman comics. Most of the Batman comics that I've been exposed to recently have been these really modern ones, which don't feature like Clayface or, it's Selena Kyle, but like she's clearly already Catwoman. And I didn't know that she was like wealthy and she had daddy's money. And like, I didn't know any of that stuff. So I'm really surprisingly enjoying this because you guys know I don't love animated stuff, but this is, like I said, it feels like it's a live action thing to me. It really does. It feels like I'm watching like Suits or something.
we lost Evan. Oh man, Evan's internet bill has
That's
come
okay.
due.
I'll just keep talking about this.
No, it's good. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start moving towards the end here in a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, no. The other big issue people have asked about is, do we like Hamish Linklater as Batman? And like I said, it takes a minute to grow on me because of Kevin Conroy being the iconic Batman voice of my time. But yes, I do, and I like him because I like how his Batman is obviously emotionally stunted and kind of like his monotone delivery is just so emotionless, even in like these high stakes emotional situations. And the switch between him and Bruce Wayne is that kind of almost borderline psychotic switch that I like in Batman, where his Bruce Wayne is a lot more, yeah, like a lot more animated and hey, hi, and then it's just when everybody's gone, this is who I am, and I'm just because there's a lot in this first season that they don't go into. Like Janelle said, we've all seen the shot go off and the pearls drop and all that a million times. But there is a definite arc to this season, mostly in the Batman Alfred relationship, which I love. And pay attention to the fact that he calls Alfred Pennyworth. He doesn't call him Alfred, he calls him Pennyworth. And it's a very distinct way that he keeps that relationship using that word between them. But there's an arc in this whole thing about how Bruce feels about his tragedy. There's several times it gets brought up when he's talking to people as Bruce Wayne, and they say, I'm so sorry about, and how he kind of like stiffens up and reacts to that, about how he is still adjusting to being Batman, why he's doing this, where his trauma is. Like all of that is understatedly but powerfully put on the table across the season in different ways. Yeah, and I like Hamish's Batman voice. And I asked him personally, would you become like the next iconic Batman voice in games and all that stuff? And he's ready. He's ready to strap in and lock in with that. So Yeah, I think his
he had
voice
a-
is very good, and it's very understated. But I like that this season makes the whole Batman arc understated. Evan, go while we have your internet.
Well, moving in and out. Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to comment on Hamish's Batman and Bruce Wayne voice because obviously, like, you're just never going to be Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy is, for me and for a lot of people, is Batman, is the Batman. He is vengeance. He is the knight. He's always going to be the pinnacle, much like Mark Hamill is always going to be the pinnacle Joker. But I think that one of the things that Hamish is able to bring his own take here, and it works very well. You know what I actually found funny is that I kind of liked his Bruce Wayne better than his Batman. I thought he kind of did that like a little bit better in terms of selling that Playboy, I'm pretending to be a Playboy aesthetic sort of thing to it. I kind of preferred that. I know I'm going to get heat for this one. I kind of preferred his Bruce Wayne versus Kevin Conroy's Bruce Wayne. I mean, obviously, like Kevin Conroy's Batman, it's always going to be the pinnacle. But like, I did prefer his Bruce Wayne here. I thought it worked very well in terms of this series specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the dichotomy between his faking emotion, because I feel like in just talking to him, he captures the essence of Bruce Wayne being an emotionally traumatized, deeply traumatized person, in that his real affect is this wall of kind of stoicism because he doesn't want to be emotional. Like like I was just saying, I think when you dropped off, one of my favorite things was every time there's this little arc about Bruce and Batman and his emotional trauma. Like there is this one flashback in one episode that has Alfred at the end that they never tell you why that flashback's in there. But if you put the pieces together and with enough Batman lore, it's basically telling you that Batman in this version of Bruce Wayne views Alfred in his place in the history of what happened to his parents, like very differently. Alfred's not his like comfortable like thing. One of my favorite scenes, and I'll spoil this one, is a flashback to a young kid, Bruce Wayne, coming in like freaky horror movie style, coming to Alfred's room in the middle of the night, opening the door when he's decided to be Batman and says, "I'm going to make them all pay, and you're going to help me." And then just closes the door on him again. And Alfred is just like, WTF, like, have I gotten myself into? And so, like, that's their relationship. Is Bruce doesn't love Alfred like a surrogate father. He's very much a servant. And like, but over the course of the season, especially like that Gentleman Ghost episode, stuff like that. And afterwards, like, yeah, Bruce having to start to look at people differently, the city differently, like all of this fight that he's in differently, and look at allies and stuff like that differently is interesting, but it's very understated. And I feel like Hamish Linklater's performance is understated too, because here he is like just trying to be this cold, emotionless thing. And that's why I love the flip. When his Bruce Wayne comes out, it's so kind of like nuts. You're like, ew, because you hear him flip back and forth between this guy. It's like watching Dennis Reynolds in Always Sunny when he's just like all animated, and then like all of a sudden, like all of a sudden, all the emotion drains out of his face, and it's just like, and you see like that underside, and you're like, oh man. So I enjoyed it, but it does take getting used to. And of course, like in the end, no, I would not rank his Batman voice over Kevin Conroy's, but I would, like you, put the Bruce Wayne in competitive running for sure.
I thought that worked really well. I did want to address, we did get a comment from Monkey Jeebus who said, "Why is Alfred a thick boy now?" Well, Monkey Jeebus, back when Batman was first introduced in Detective Comics number 27, and about a couple of years after that, Alfred Pennyworth was something of a thick boy. There's also and without, like, obviously we won't go into spoilers. There is a post-credit scene in Batman's first Batman Cape Crusaders first thing, and if you're a Batman fan, you can probably guess what it is without us saying anything at all. And that's one of the things that I think is super appealing about thank you, Janelle.
Janelle. Oh my god, I was not prepared for that.
Well, one of the things that I think is super appealing about this show is,
did we lose Evan? Oh, he was just about to tell us.
Cliffhanger.
Oh, he was just about to tell us his internet went out. Evan's internet's been going out, but he was just about to tell us
what. Am I back?
There he is.
Yes.
Okay, very quickly. So one of the things that this Batman Cape Crusader has been able to do is that it has been able to give us interpretations that not only are different, but also elicit to the very early beginnings of Batman's original comic book run, which is something that I think we're going to see if it gets a season 2, because there is a very strong, this is going to be the first appearance of such character that is in the post-credit scene of Batman Cape Crusader. I am super hyped to see that. That is one of the things that I was like, oh, give me season 2, please.
Yeah, no, I wanted to touch on that. A couple things before we got out of here is one, I keep seeing it in the trailer. The direction of these episodes is also really well done. Like the Two-Face episode the way they shoot it. There are these shots that they do throughout the episode where they frame it so you only see one half of the face at a time, kind of depending on what's happening. And that's well done because it's a lot of dramatic, like Harvey Dent, Two-Face showing up at people's doors and they'd be like, oh, like, you know, and the way that it's shot is really well done. And like, yeah, like we've been tiptoeing around, and like Janelle said, this has been opening the door to her to learn that a lot of these are based on classic Batman comic tropes that we've all forgotten about. Because for a lot of us, our memory starts at that 80s Frank Miller, Alan Moore, Tim Burton era mix where we got the Batman we know and love now, the black suited, gold belted, you know, leaving the silver and blue behind. But no, in original Batman comics were detective comics, and they were very much kind of noir detective stories with outlandish characters and stuff like that. So yeah, this is pulling from that, and it's fun because even us older fans who claim to be super fans and stuff like that, we didn't experience these comics. Like, we didn't go back to the 40s and the 50s and read Batman comics. So getting to see this is also novel and fun for us. And it's part of what I think makes this series great. We didn't touch on it. A couple things. What was Janelle, what's your favorite episode so far?
I actually really enjoyed the Clayface one.
Yeah, me too. All right. I think that might be my single favorite episode. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. We didn't. Oh, fun. Some Easter egg fun. Oh, Evan, sorry. What was yours?
I mean, I would say probably probably the Clayface one. I thought that one did work really well, but also I would give credit to the what is he says they call him Firefly, but he
Firebug.
Says, I'm Firebug. I thought that did a perfect job of that is one of the pinnacle episodes of this series because it shows you the interlinking relationship between the mob, the corrupt police, and these new twisted supervillains that are appearing in Gotham City. I thought it did a very good job of that. But I also have to give credit to the Harley Quinn episode because I did think that what they did with that character and how they changed her in general worked very well.
I love this Harley Quinn.
Yeah, what an interesting take on the character. Completely aside from being completely sans Joker, like the making it so that Harleen Quinzel as a psychiatrist is the bubbly, like humorous. She's dropping terrible puns all the time, and then having Harley Quinn be this stoic, silent, scary figure. Very, very interesting take on the character. A completely new take on the character that worked really well.
Yeah, and that's the kind of key I want to highlight here. Like, this is Bruce Timm and them who are working, and they know these characters. So what basically they did was say, you know what, we've never done with Harley Quinn. We've never really made the psychiatrist part of her a weapon. Like, she is a psychological master. She only got outmaneuvered by one guy who defies all psychological kind of mapping, which was the Joker. But take him away, and what you have is still a top-notch psychologist. In her weaponizing that is crazy good. And I talked to Jamie Chung about it. You can read it on our new Harley Quinn character explained article on Comicbook.com, because she talked about working with Bruce Timm and kind of cracking the nut on that about making us a therapist who's so good, can get you to open up about anything, be vulnerable, and then we'll turn that around and use it against you as really good. And she is, what I love about that is she doesn't need to flip kick and do all this with a big hammer. Like, her things are all just mind games and maneuvering. And yeah, it was great. So yeah, and that highlights, I think, something we can talk about. Some fun Easter eggs to know about. There are appearances and setups for potential big DC characters, from Plastic Man to the Spectre. There's a major Superman Easter egg in there that I'm going to write up right after this that we get. We also get one episode of the series that is a Easter egg in and of itself, because it is the realization of an episode that they wanted to do in Batman the Animated Series, but they could not do it because it was too freaky. And that's episode 8, Nocturne. Nocturne is this kind of vampiric character, and they were going to do an episode about that in the animated series, but it was too Saturday morning cartoonish. But we definitely get that episode here. And as Evan pointed out, it has some fun Robin Easter eggs, plural, in it. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's pretty nuts. And I can't wait to see what we do in season 2, because that I'm not going to spoil. Obviously, you should know what the post-credit scene is.
You can guess if you're a Batman fan.
Yeah, any Batman fan who's ever seen a first Batman installment of anything should be able to guess what we're talking about now. But even in just kind of one teaser scene in line, it's already like, ooh, this is going to be exciting but different, and I'm kind of really psyched to see that. So, yeah, I think in the end, I can't say highly enough. Like, I mean, give this a chance. Jump in, see if you like it. It may take you an episode or 2, but I guarantee by 3, if you're kind of there, you're going to lock in and be, enjoying this along with us. So, good. Congratulations on Prime Video. How does Prime Video doing this and not Max? Amazon, you guys, I see what you're doing over there at Amazon. Like, you guys are on the pulse. You're not slacking and you're macking over there at Amazon. Getting this out from under Max was crazy work, but good for you. So I now have a Batman animated series I'm going to be watching. So bring on that next episodic week to week season 2 next week, so we can get a little more out of this than just this. We need to, feed us. You gotta feed us. So
we don't have enough media to consume.
Yeah, we need some. We need more. All right. I think that does it. Does anybody have any parting thoughts you want to share or just get off your chest about Batman? Anything else about season 2 you want to see? I want to see actual Superman. I want to see, people have already said it, I want to see that era Superman with that classic design.
That would be super interesting. I think that, like, just keep throwing curveballs at the audience. I loved the different stuff that was presented here in Caped Crusader, and it's so tough to talk about that post-credit scene, because there is like some things that I want to mention in terms of like where I want said thing to go in season 2, but I cannot wait for that thing to happen, especially based on early Batman comics. I think that I'm super pumped to see that. I think that I really do hope that this gets a season 2. I think that this series is a slow burn. I am a sucker for slow burns, so it kind of helped with me in terms of that. I could stick with it. But it is worth checking out. I think that it is a series that is able to distill what works about Batman and present it in a new, timeless way that really works for the character. So I can't recommend it enough. I think it's just a fantastic series. I'm hard pressed to think of any weaknesses when it comes to the series.
And Janelle, we got to get out of here. We're told we got to wrap, and we are going to wrap. But do you have any final words about this?
Just if you're not really into animation, or you feel kind of like left in the dust with comic book stuff in general, and you're like, oh, I don't know all these stories, I'm not a deep enough fan, I just watch the movies or the CW shows or whatever, you'll enjoy this. Like, give it a try. I super enjoyed it, and I didn't have any intention to. I didn't really have high expectations, and I am kind of blown away by it, honestly. So I would definitely check it out. If you guys have any kind of feelings that you maybe want to try it, do it. I think you'll be rewarded.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We are the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of Comicbook.com. If you are just catching up with us for this episode, just know we have an entire nation of podcasts for you. We are doing recaps of House of the Dragon every week, including this upcoming finale tomorrow night at the time of recording this. House of the Dragon Season 2 is wrapping, and we will be recording that. Evan, Valentine, and the whole Anime Initiative team have been killing it, and they're coming up on a milestone, their first real big bonus episode this week. My Hero Academia is ending. The manga's last chapter is coming out. So the Anime Initiative team is assembling for a special bonus episode. Guys, if you're a My Hero Academia fan, you got to be on that one. Yep. We also have regular episodes coming this week for Anime Initiative, the pull list where we talk comics and pull the biggest comic stories of the week. Quick Save where we get into the biggest things happening in gaming. And of course, the live show you're watching right now. Thank you guys for joining us today. Also, of course, Phase Zero, our Marvel podcast, is having a big month. What with the release of Deadpool, Wolverine, all the big things announced in Hall H in their special Comic-Con panel that they got to do. They are having all that stuff kind of on their feed right now, kind of trickling out. So be sure to go and listen to all of that. We are Zennial Nation. I think, Evan, you are a member of the Zennial Nation as well.
Hey,
I think.
I guess.
X-Zennial. X-Zennial.
X-Zennial. Yeah, X-Zennial Nation. We're out. See you guys next time.